Take a breath. Not because anything is wrong, but because you've been moving fast. Even when you were standing still, there's a particular kind of exhaustion that Sagittarius knows well. It's not the exhaustion of rest withheld. It's the exhaustion of trying too hard to arrive somewhere you already belong. Welcome, Sagittarius. This reading, this reflection, is not here to tell you what's coming. It's here to sit with you in what is, right now, in this moment that you've carved out to listen. And what I want to offer you today circles around a theme that keeps showing up for you: alignment. Not the alignment of everything falling perfectly into place. Not the alignment of finally getting what you've been chasing, but the quieter, more intimate alignment of moving in a direction that actually feels like yours. Because here's the truth about this phase of your journey, Sagittarius, and I say this with all the care in the world. You've been pushing, and the pushing has been exhausting you in ways you might not have fully named yet. Let's name it today. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the great expander, the philosopher of the zodiac, the energy that says more, further, deeper, wider. And that is a genuine gift. You are not built for small thinking. You are not made to sit comfortably inside boxes that others design for you. There's a fire in you, a mutable fire, that wants to understand, to move, to mean something. But here's what nobody talks about enough. Even fire needs oxygen. Even the most powerful bow requires stillness before the arrow flies true. And lately, in this particular stretch of time you're moving through, that fire has been burning in a way that feels more like friction than forward motion. You've been doing all the right things on the surface. You've been taking steps. You've been setting intentions. You've been telling yourself, this time it's going to click. And yet something inside you, something honest and maybe a little tired, keeps quietly asking, why does this still feel forced? That question is not a sign of failure, Sagittarius. That question is one of the most intelligent things your inner self has ever asked. Because forcing and moving are not the same thing. They look alike from the outside. They can both involve action. They can both involve effort. But one of them comes from alignment, and one of them comes from fear. When we force, we're usually afraid that if we stop pushing, everything will fall apart. That if we let go of the bowstring for even a moment, we'll lose our place in line. We'll miss our window. We'll fall behind some invisible schedule that doesn't actually exist. Sagittarius, I want to ask you something gently today. What are you afraid will happen if you stop forcing? You don't have to answer out loud. Just let the question sit with you like a companion for the next few minutes. We talk about alignment like it's a destination. Like you'll wake up one morning and everything will be in order and you'll finally feel it, this perfect hum of rightness. But alignment isn't a destination, Sagittarius. It's a sensation, and it comes and goes. It visits us most when we stop trying to manufacture it. Here's what alignment tends to feel like. It feels like something being easy, not in the sense that there's no effort, but in the sense that the effort feels right size for what you're doing. Like you're not dragging something uphill that's not meant to go that direction. It feels like an exhale, like the moment you stop holding your breath without realizing you were holding it. It feels like a thought that arrives quietly and says, yes, this, not with fireworks, but with a calm, low recognition. And it feels like time moving differently, not rushing, not crawling, just present. Now compare that to how things have been feeling lately. Have they felt like effort that matches a return? Or effort that's out of proportion? Like you're working twice as hard for half the piece? Have they felt like exhales? Or have they felt like bracing, holding, waiting for something to finally let you breathe? The gap between those two experiences, that's what this phase is asking you to examine. Not to judge yourself, not to tear apart every decision you've made, but to get honest about where you are actually in flow and where you've been white-knuckling it. Sagittarius, your natural state is movement with meaning. You were not built to grind. You were built to journey. And there's a profound difference between the two. A grind is when you push through something regardless of what it's costing you, because stopping feels like losing. A journey is when you move forward in a way that honors the terrain, including the parts where you slow down, rest, reconsider path, or even turn around. This phase is asking you to return to the spirit of the journey. And it begins by getting honest about which version of moving you've been in. Here's something worth sitting with today, Sagittarius. The places in your life where you feel the most forced, the most like you're pushing a door that isn't meant to open, those places often have a story attached to them. Maybe it's a story about what success is supposed to look like, about the timeline you were supposed to be on by now, about what your life was supposed to prove to yourself or to someone else. And I want to say this as kindly as I possibly can. Some of the resistance you're feeling right now is not external. Some of it is a gap between where you actually are and where a version of you from the past decided you should be. That old version of you had big dreams, still does. And those dreams are not wrong. They're part of what makes you you. But dreams need to be revisited. They need to be updated. They need to be checked in with the way you check in with a dear friend, not just assume they still want the same things they wanted 3 years ago. So here's a gentle question. Not a prediction, not a directive, just an honest inquiry for you to carry through the rest of your day. Is what you're pushing towards still yours? Or are you chasing something because you started chasing it? And stopping now would mean admitting it was never quite right? There is no shame in either answer. In fact, the courage to honestly answer that question, that is one of the bravest things a Sagittarius can do, because you are built to move forward, and choosing to pause and question forward is an act of profound self-respect. Alignment doesn't always mean continuing. Sometimes alignment means a quiet, humble act of letting something go, not because you failed, but because you have grown enough to understand what actually fits you now. The fire you carry, Sagittarius, your mutable, expansive, truth-seeking fire, it burns most brightly not when it's consuming everything in reach. It burns most brightly when it has something true to illuminate. Turn it inward for a moment. Let it light up the honest corners. What does it show you? So what does it actually look like in your daily, ordinary, sometimes messy real life? To move without forcing? I want to offer you a few reflections. Not rules, not prescriptions. Just gentle ways of thinking that might feel like a hand extended in the right direction. The first is this. Discern between resistance and friction. Not all resistance means stop. Sometimes resistance is a natural pushback of growth. The way muscles strain to grow stronger, the way writing feels hard before it flows, the way new relationships require awkward, beautiful vulnerability before they deepen. But some resistance is a signal. It's the quiet intelligence of your own knowing saying, this isn't the right door. The difference? Productive friction. Usually has a sense of purpose underneath it. It's uncomfortable, but there's a thread of meaning you can feel. When you push through it, you feel something open. The other kind of resistance is different. It's flat, draining. It doesn't open, no matter how much you push. And pushing harder only makes you more depleted. Pay attention to that difference this phase, Sagittarius. Not obsessively. You don't need to analyze every moment, but gently. Like reading the weather. The second is, let curiosity lead more than strategy. You are, at your core, a seeker. And seekers move best when they're following genuine curiosity. The authentic pull of, I wonder what's over there, rather than tactical calculation. When did something last genuinely surprise and delight you? When did you last do something not because it was on the path to an outcome, but because it simply interested you? Follow that more, even in small ways. Even for 10 minutes a day. Because curiosity is how a Sagittarius finds alignment. Not by planning the perfect route, but by following what actually lights them up. The third is honor the in-between. Right now, you may be in a space that doesn't have a clear label. You're not quite here, not quite there. You're between chapters, between versions of yourself, between what was and what's coming. Our instinct in these spaces is to rush through them, to manufacture certainty where there isn't any. To do something to create the feeling of progress. But the in-between is not empty, Sagittarius. It is full. It is where integration happens, where things that have been moving at warp speed finally have room to settle into meaning. Don't rush the in-between. It is doing something, even when, especially when, it doesn't look like it from the outside. And the fourth, trust the next small step, not the whole map. You are a visionary. You can see the horizon in vivid detail, and that capacity is a genuine gift. But sometimes a gift becomes the obstacle when the vision of the whole road becomes so large that the small step right in front of you feels insignificant. So you either skip it or freeze entirely. The next small step is enough. It is, in fact, everything. You don't need to see the full path. You need to trust the next honest move. Just one, the one that feels real, even if it's quiet, even if no one else can see it. That's the step. Take that one. Sagittarius, here is what I want to leave you with today. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not being punished by the universe or blocked or overlooked. You are in a phase of recalibration. And recalibration is not the opposite of progress. It is a necessary interior work that makes real progress possible. The forcing you've been doing, it comes from a good place. It comes from passion, from ambition, from that gorgeous, restless fire that is so fundamentally you. But fire, as we said at the beginning, needs oxygen, and oxygen requires space. You are allowed to give yourself space. You're allowed to slow down without calling it failure. You're allowed to ask yourself, does this still feel like mine, without calling it weakness? You're allowed to be a Sagittarius who is also sometimes still, because the truest arrow, the one that hits exactly what it was meant for, is not the one fired in a panic or out of exhaustion or to prove something. It's the one released from stillness, with clarity, with intention, with a breath that has been genuinely, fully taken. So today, in whatever hours remain of your day, in whatever part of your life is asking for your attention, I invite you into one small act of alignment, not a grand gesture, not a dramatic reinvention, just one moment of choosing true over strategic, of choosing yours over expected, of choosing gentle forward over forced arrival. That's the practice, Sagittarius. And you are more ready for it than you know.